Welcome to the program. First tonight, blind man's bluff, the sting that's caught out Australia's most brazen con man. Joey Russell travels the length and breadth of the country, setting his sights on vulnerable people, pretending he's almost totally blind and spinning unbelievable tales about his life while draining their bank accounts and their life savings. Frank Pangallo laid an elaborate trap across 3 states to snare the crook who calls himself Blind Joey.
Blind man's bluff. Blind man's bluff. Joey, you're supposed to be blind. Joey, you're supposed to be blind, mate. How can we trust and believe what you're saying? Because your life is a lie.
My life is not a lie. You give me a chance.
That's a blind man.
He is probably one of the best liars that you could ever find.
Taxi?
How much?
I can see shadow, an outline of shadow.
Is that it?
That's it, yeah.
Nothing else. How do you manage to? Can you read or?
No, I've got talking books. So it's not too bad.
Well, as we're about to reveal, what you see with Joey Russell, or Blind Joey as he likes to call himself, is not what you end up getting. He's in fact a convicted fraudster and a con man who's left his mark in every state.
He uses the blindness to get sympathy, doesn't he?
Correct. He uses that to get sympathy. He uses that to get into people's lives. He uses that to steal money from them, to live his big lifestyle because he travels business class. He stays in the best hotels, 5-star accommodation, eats at the best restaurants.
Lee Robson got to know Russell when he hired her to be his driver while living in Adelaide late last year.
Did he come across as he was affluent, had a lot of money?
Absolutely, yes, he was very big on that. He was wealthy, had a lot of money, and he liked to share the money around, give to charities and things like that.
He acted as though he, was blind, but was really quite confident with his cane. And he always laughed how people would get out of his way because of the cane, and he didn't care if he took people out with it or not.
It's hard when you're visually impaired trying to get through with your cane.
Is it difficult? It must be difficult for you.
Shit, because a lot of people treat you different because of your vision impairment, or they get in your way and you try to walk around or try to get through places, and it's a pain.
At the time, Russell was throwing money around like confetti while schmoozing his way into the life of Kerry Summerscales, who met him via one of the many internet dating sites he trawls.
He would pay for everything he'd pay for. And he'd always come around with gifts and he would say, you know why I do this, Kerry? It's because you work really, really hard and you deserve it.
And to maintain his ruse of being filthy rich, Russell even tried to buy this $1.6 million home owned by AFL Port Power star Dean Brogan.
He'd already started telling people about this, party he would have. And it had a nice area for Sophie, his guide dog that he was doing training with that he'd be getting soon.
What they didn't know was that big spending Russell had milked almost $70,000 from pensioner Nikolai Zezelage after he had shown Russell a letter which claimed he inherited millions of euros from a deceased estate. It was an obvious scam, but Nikolai's English is poor and Russell seized the opportunity, this time posing as a lawyer who could get him the money.
What did you do with all that money, supposedly to pay staff? You've got no staff. You had no staff in Adelaide.
Yeah, well,
you didn't, did you?
No, I'm not up.
But you lied.
Oh, so I lied.
But you trip up.
Here are some of Blind Joey's whoppers. He received a PhD from MIT University in the US, age 20. He's an IT security specialist for major Australian banks, employs 120 around Australia. He owns a unit on Sydney Harbour and homes in Perth and Adelaide, is a Paralympian twice, is a part owner of the Adelaide 36ers basketball team. His mother, who's still alive, died from breast cancer, and he can only see shadows.
Everywhere he uses a cane, and he'll even run into stuff. Well, that's obviously just a ploy of his to make it look legit that he actually is blind. He's even got a card to say that he's 95% blind from the Blind Association, I think it's called.
When things got too hot for Blind Joey in Adelaide, he moved to Perth, and it wasn't long before he conned Scott Roosh out of $10,000.
I just thought he was just a genuine good bloke.
But he was actually spending your money.
He was spending my money. Yeah.
Making it look like it was his.
Yeah, like he was wealthy, but it was actually my money that, as I worked out.
Russell then took off to Hobart, so with the help of Kerry, we set up an elaborate sting to corner blind Joey, making contact with him through a dating website. I would act as his driver, ferrying him to his hot date. It didn't take long for the lies to start flowing.
So I can walk into a Commonwealth Bank now, I've got a swipe card, walk into any Commonwealth Bank now, any Westpac, and walk straight in, even when it's closed, and go in the system. But yeah, that's why I don't advertise my company heavily over them anywhere, because it's too security breach for me. Because you imagine if someone knew, oh, blind man has access like that, they're going to try to kidnap me or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't big note myself where a lot of people in IT try to make themselves big.
Blind Joey's eyes lit up when we stopped for a drink at the Rest Point Casino. As you can see, he has no problem picking up his beer. Then he slipped $50 into a pokie machine. How could he see what he was doing? Well, he claimed he could tell if he was winning or losing by the sound made by the machine. Then he was at the pontoon table, asking me to read out the cards as they were dealt. Staring straight at them, he won 7 hands in a row.
His vision must be better than what he's making out.
It is. The times where I've seen him slip up, you know, one eye might be, there might be something wrong with it, but the other doesn't say anything about the other eye, so I reckon he can see perfectly out the other eye.
Then we headed to the restaurant, where we had a couple of surprises in store for blind Joey. One of them was Scott Roosh, who had flown in from Perth.
A lot of things I'd like to say to him. I'd like to catch up with him one day.
Well, you may well do that today.
Maybe.
And a message from Nikolai Zezelage.
Can I play you something?
I want my money back.
Game's up, Joey. That's Nikolai. You took $70,000 from him.
75 from Nikolai.
$70,000. You're a con man.
Yeah.
Joey, you're a con man. And I've got another surprise for you.
Yeah.
Somebody else who's come here to see you. No.
Hey, mate. How you going?
You know him, don't you?
Yeah.
You took his money as well, Joey. You've been caught out.
Caught out?
Blind man's bluff. Blind man's bluff. Joey, you're supposed to be blind. Joey, you're supposed to be blind, mate.
For a blind man, Joey led us on a merry chase through Hobart.
Robbing people blind, Joey.
Hang on, Joey. Sorry, Joseph.
Skipping downstairs.
Where do you live, mate?
He knows where I live.
Let me go.
Hopping over a chain.
Some sort of blindness there. Oh, you're just stupid.
Very good, Joey. Pretty good for a blind man.
He eventually gave up and accepted our invitation to drive him home, confessing along the way.
Why do you concoct all these stories?
Because I up. Because people screwed me over when I was young and I just haven't got over that.
Yeah, but you keep doing it.
Yeah, because I've been over all the time. And
but these people trust you. They take you into their confidence.
I know.
They win you. You know,
Look,
they do things for you, and then you repay them.
I'm over. I know.
By the time we got Joey back to his modest rented room, he promised us and Scott's dad, Brad Newham, he would repay all the money he had fleeced from his victims.
Well, what are you going to do?
Sort it out and get it done and be a man of my word and keep my word. What choice do I have?
He did sound quite convincing. I was very sceptical. I didn't think that it would happen.
But true to his form, Joey Russell, who also uses the aliases Slattery, Lattery and Flattery, was nowhere to be seen the next day, taking an evening flight out to the mainland.
He has showed everybody in no uncertain terms that he is definitely not as blind as he makes out to, and he can see a hell of a lot more. And hopefully people will recognise him, and somebody somewhere will dob him in.
As it turns out, he even cleaned out the account of one of his roommates, and we've since learned Perth police have issued a warrant for his arrest. It seems the net is closing on blind Joey.
He needs to be put back in jail for a longer period of time this time, and taken out of society so that he can't con people. He is obviously habitual with it, and I don't see that he's going to stop.
I think he should be thrown in jail and have the key thrown away. Never hurt someone again.
It's a low act.
Well, you're still using the stick
It's
for
a
it. You can see.
low act.
You can see perfectly. You may as well put it away.
What a low act. Pretending to be blind.
Hey?
Unbelievable, isn't he? Frank Pangallo with that report.